My name is Lynn. I'm sitting at my kitchen window, looking out at the trees I specifically chose for this view. My phone is in my hand, and I've just ended a call with my mother. The call has stirred up a storm of memories and emotions that I thought I had buried 9 years ago. 9 years ago, I was locked out of my childhood home. I had just finished a 12-hour shift as a patient care coordinator at the local hospital. Tired and looking forward to a warm bed, I was shocked to find my key wouldn't turn in the lock. I tried it twice, then 3 times. The lock was brand new, shiny, the kind you'd buy on a whim from a hardware store. I knocked on the door, and my mother opened it. Her face wasn't one of surprise but rather of rehearsed calm. It was as if she had practiced in the mirror what she was about to say. She told me that my sister, Lily, was going through a tough time and needed stability. They, as a family, had decided it would be better if I found my own place for a while until Lily got back on her feet. I stood there on the porch, my work lanyard still around my neck and my hospital ID swinging against my chest. I asked her, "Who has been paying the mortgage for the past 14 months?" Her calm demeanor flickered for just a second, and then she said, "Lily really needs us right now." Silence filled the space between us. I realized then that it didn't matter how much I had sacrificed. The money, the skipped vacations, the delayed savings goals. None of it mattered. Because Lily was inside that house, probably crying, and when Lily cried, it was as if the rest of the world ceased to exist. Let me take you back to 14 months earlier. My father, a factory worker, had been laid off from his job of 20 years. My parents had depleted most of their savings during a health scare the year before, and they were 4 months behind on the mortgage. They didn't come to me first, they went to Lily. But Lily, who was 23 at the time, had no savings and no stable income. She had a lifestyle that required constant upkeep, always keeping up with the latest trends and going out with her friends. When she called me in a panic, saying she didn't know what to do, I stepped in without hesitation. I did the math, made the necessary calls, and set up automatic transfers. I never asked for a thank you or a repayment schedule. In my mind, it was what family did. I believed in the word family like some people believe in a sacred scripture. Yet, here I was on the porch, locked out of the home I had helped to save. I didn't yell or cry right then. I took a breath that seemed to last an eternity and simply said, "Okay." The look of relief on my mother's face burned into my memory. It was as if getting rid of me was the hard part that was now over, like I was a problem that had just solved itself. I drove to my friend Nova's apartment in a daze. I slept on her couch for 3 nights before I could think clearly enough to make a plan. I sat in my car outside a strange neighborhood because I couldn't face Nova's sympathy just yet. In that moment, I made a quiet promise to myself. I was going to build something so solid, so unassailable, that one day they'd look at me and remember who they'd locked out in the cold. The next few years were far from easy. I was broken, grieving the family I thought I had. I grieved the image of my mother, who I believed would stand by me when it mattered most. I cried in Nova's bathroom with the shower running so she wouldn't hear me. The next morning, I'd put on concealer and force a smile, piece by piece. Grief doesn't always come with a loud announcement. Sometimes, it just sits beside you in the car on your way to work, reminding you of all the sacrifices you made for people who turned their backs on you. But I kept moving forward. It was the only thing I knew to do. I found a small 1-bedroom apartment 20 minutes from the hospital. It was on the 4th floor, with a radiator that clicked all winter and a window facing a brick wall. But it was mine. I paid the rent with my hard-earned money, and in this space, no one could decide without my consent that my presence was inconvenient. I painted the bedroom a deep navy blue and bought a plant. Keeping that plant alive became a small victory, and I started collecting these small victories like precious currency. At work, things started to change, too. I had always been a reliable employee, showing up early and staying late without being asked. But I hadn't been ambitious, because I never truly believed I deserved more. The locked door, though, changed something in me. Gradually, I began to volunteer for projects outside my department. I took 2 online certifications in health care administration and started introducing myself to people in rooms where I'd previously just stood silently. Within 2 years, I was promoted to operations supervisor. 4 years later, I was managing a team of 25 people across 2 hospital wings. 6 years after that fateful day on the porch, I was sitting in a director-level meeting, giving my opinion on a budget restructure. And they implemented it. Outside of work, I was building a life that was truly mine. Nova remained my closest friend. I met a woman named Iris through a book club. She had her own complicated family history and understood without explanation why I sometimes went quiet during family holidays. We grew close over the years, through small moments rather than grand gestures. I also built a strong financial foundation. I had interrupted my own savings for my parents before, but now I focused on myself. I had savings, made investments, and at 32, I bought a condo in my name alone. I remember staring at the deed for what felt like hours on the day I signed it. I hadn't spoken to my parents in all these years. No birthday texts, no holiday cards. It wasn't out of anger, I just decided that the relationship as it was didn't deserve to continue. I saw no sign that things would be different. Lily reached out once, about 2 years after I left. Her message was full of carefully chosen words and strategic vagueness, as if she had typed and deleted and re-typed it 100 times. I read it but didn't respond. Some doors, once you understand why they're closed, don't need to be reopened. And then, 9 years after that day on the porch, my mother called. I was at my desk, reviewing Q3 projections when my phone lit up with a number I'd never deleted. I let it ring. She called again an hour later, and then my father called from his number, which almost never happened since he always let my mother handle emotional matters. 2 calls from 2 numbers in one afternoon felt like a well-rehearsed script. I called her back that evening from my condo. The first thing I noticed was how old her voice sounded. She explained that Lily had moved across the country for a relationship 2 years ago, and the relationship had broken down. She hadn't come back. My father had developed a heart condition that needed ongoing care, and the house, the same house I'd saved once, was in serious financial trouble again. They were facing foreclosure within 90 days. She asked if I could help. I held a moment of silence. It wasn't for effect, I just needed time to find the truth within myself. I then asked her, "Do you remember who saved the house the first time?" The pause on her end was longer than mine. I told her I'd think about it and that I needed a week. What I didn't tell her was that I'd already made my decision. The money wasn't the point anymore. It was about what I was willing to carry forward and what I was finally ready to let go. 9 years had taught me that saving people who don't understand the cost of being saved isn't an act of generosity, it's a pattern. I had broken that pattern once on that porch, and this time I was going to do things differently. Every single condition would be mine. If this story touches you, if you've ever given everything and still been shut out, you're not alone. And this story is for you.